How to earn 200% a month in real estate. David Jaffe with beststockstrategy.com. And no, this video is definitely not clickbait. I'm going to tell you exactly how to earn 200% every single month in real estate. And just like everything else, when you're trying to make such outlandish gains, there is a tremendous amount of risk associated with trying to earn 200% a month. So if you think that this is something where it's going to be super easy, then you're in for a surprise, because earning these type of returns, which are completely possible, is going to require you to put in a lot of work and take a lot of risk. All right, let me just get right into it. So first off, you would have to live in a very expensive housing market, something like New York City, San Francisco, perhaps some places in Hawaii, and Boston would also work. But if you're living potentially Los Angeles, but probably, and maybe Los Angeles, I don't think Miami would work. Potentially Los Angeles, but definitely New York and San Francisco would work. Then the next thing you would do is you would rent out a very large apartment that has at least 2 bathrooms, because bathrooms are going to be the limiting source of your ability to execute upon this plan. Then you would buy as many bunk beds as possible and put them in the apartments. Then you would buy mattresses. And I have all this information. If you want, you can email me and I can provide you with the exact beds that I use, the exact mattresses, and we can get on a call. You can book a call and you can ask me questions about your target market and the marketing and things like that. So so you would put bunk beds in these apartments. Then you'd essentially set up the apartment with the basic necessities. So you would have enough dishes. You can get everything at IKEA. It would probably only cost you around $100 or $200 to set this up. Then you would post ads, whether it's AIRBNB or Facebook or other websites which I use, Craigslist, and there's a few other ones. You would post ads and you would charge around $750 per month per bed. So if you have a 2-bedroom apartment, I've had 2-bedroom apartments where, actually I don't want to get into specific numbers for obvious reasons, but let me just tell you that you can fit, the limiting factor for this type of thing is going to be the number of bathrooms that you have. If you have 2 bathrooms, the maximum number of people that you can fit is going to be around 22. Now, if you live in a building that has common bathrooms, then you can actually get away with having 22 people or potentially even 24 people, because if the building has a gym, then there are ways that you can get around that so that some of the tenants can actually use the gym. You're also going to have to educate yourself about replicating keys, whether it be a Medico key or some of the other specialty keys. You're also going to have to educate yourself on how to copy those HID cards, which are the RFID cards. Those are things that can easily be done, in which I can advise you on that as well, copying the cards. That way you can give them out to your tenants and they have access to the building. Generally speaking, I like to avoid doorman buildings, because doormen, they tend to have big mouths. The best situation is if you have a really nice building that locks with an HID or an RFID card, and then it has a common space like a gym or a pool and laundry and things of that nature, where it's not actively being monitored. Doormen sometimes have big mouths, and typically if there's one doorman, there's going to be about 4 or 5, and then they're going to tell and yet you can pay off like 2 or 3 of the doormen, but there's always going to be one doorman who's going to alert the landlord, and then they're going to bring you to landlord-tenant court, and that's going to potentially be an issue, even though I've been in landlord-tenant court around 15 times and I've never had any issues with that. But the point is that you're going to buy bunk beds and then you're going to market it. The type of tenant that you look for is you're going to primarily look for international students. And the reason is not that international students are so much better than Americans. The issue is that Americans tend to have way too much stuff. So when I was doing this, I would limit the amount of things that people could bring to a maximum of 2 suitcases. And I also made sure that there was no alcohol permitted in the apartment. There were absolutely no drugs permitted in the apartment. And then perhaps the most important aspect was I turned down around 60% of the people who wanted to to live in the places. What I would do is I would post ads on Facebook and other places. Then I would force the person who is a potential renter to add me on Facebook, and then I would look at all their photos. And then if they party too much, if I ever saw them like smoking marijuana, then I would not permit. If I saw them with too many party pictures where they were drinking alcohol, then I wouldn't allow them. I wouldn't even interview them. Additionally, if a girl was too pretty, I would not allow her in my apartment, because what's going to happen when you mix guys and girls? The guys are going to try to sleep with the girls. So I would not have like models or any girls that were too attractive, because then it would distract the guys and the guys would want to sleep with them. Then if the people, and this is actually a lot easier now, because now you have Instagram. So now you don't even have to go through the process of going through and perusing and reviewing all of the people's photos on Facebook. Instead, you can just look at their Instagram profile, which is how they think and how they portray themselves. And then you can look at that and you can make a very quick decision. Then once they pass the initial screen, you will then interview them. At no time before they pass the interview will they ever have the real address of the apartment. And then you will sit them down, and what I did, I would be extremely unfriendly, because I'm trying to provoke that person and see how they respond in a stressful situation. Because what happens if there are X number of people living in the apartment, and then they have to be at work at 9 o'clock, and then they bang on the door in the bathroom at 8:15, and the bathroom is occupied, and then they get upset that one of the other tenants is spending 10 minutes in the bathroom, and they need the bathroom in order to go to work. Are they going to get really angry and agitated and cause a scene? Or are they going to respond in a very healthy manner to stressful situations? So what I would do is I would meet these people at Starbucks, and then I would just walk in like super serious, because the fact of the matter is I didn't give a crap whether I accepted them or not, because I would always have around 2.5 times as many tenants who wanted to stay there as I thought were, or too many. I had 2.5 people for every bed that I could fill it with for every tenant that I accepted. And that's why it's really important that you have cities with extremely high demand and cities that have a low vacancy rate and where people want to live there. And typically I'm referring to New York, Boston, and San Francisco. I would go to Starbucks and I would interview them. Frequently, I would even show up late. So I would tell them to show up, then I would show up around 10 minutes later, just because I wanted to see how they responded to the situation. Then I would be very serious. I would sit them down and I would go through their Facebook photos right in front of them. And I'd say, well, what about this photo? And then any doubts that I had, I would bring it up to them. And then sometimes it got like a little bit heated where they started getting like really angry. And the second that they showed any anger, I would just say, okay, thank you, you're not a good fit. And then I would just walk out, and they would never even see the apartment. Then if I thought that the tenant was a good fit, and usually I can ascertain that in about 2 or 3 minutes, at that point, I would then bring them to the apartment, and then they would see it for the first time, although they would see a video of the apartment beforehand. So I would screen out the tenants by sending them a video of the apartment and sending them the general vicinity of it with an address that was close to the real address, but with a fake address. And then they would see it, and then generally around 70 or 80% of the people who saw the apartment would end up staying there. And that's pretty much how you do it. The issue is that you have to make sure, I never ran any credit checks or anything. You have to make sure that the people stay over 30 days, because if not, then you're going to end up running into a lot of legal issues. And additionally, you have to make sure that you're comfortable being taken to housing court, because you are violating the lease. The landlord did not rent you the apartment only for you to sublease the apartment to, however many people you're going to put in there. But the largest apartment, well, actually, I don't want to get into that either for obvious reasons, but I'm just breaking down for you a very superficial and cursory way of you being able to make 200% a month every single month on your money that you invest in real estate. And that's pretty much it. And what else? Oh, the other thing is you have to be extremely responsive. So if a prospective tenant reaches out to you, you should respond to them in around 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And there were times when I was doing this where I was traveling to Brazil and Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, Colombia. I went there around 5 or 6 times. So by doing this, it does provide you with a substantial amount of freedom. But at the same time, you have to make sure the most important aspect is that you choose your tenants correctly. If you have any questions, you can book a 30-minute call. And yeah, that's about it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below. I read every single comment and I respond to every comment. So if you have questions, I am here to help you. And this is the way that you can make 200% every single month in real estate. And it's not clickbait. So it's definitely feasible if you're willing to work hard.